Hello, hello, hello. How are you guys doing this evening? I'm laughing because before I left to vlog, Alex had was just going to sleep, and I was getting ready in the bathroom. And Boo Radley sometimes sleeps between our pillows. Like, he curls up into like a little ball. And Alex was like, he wanted to shave his face tomorrow in the morning, so he was asking me where like the beard trimmer thing was, because I had moved it when I did the review, and then I put it in a new place. And so I was telling him, and I said it's in the bottom drawer. And then okay, so sometimes I bust out into song and I make up my own songs, and I was like, it's in the bottom drawer, it's in the bottom drawer. And Alex was laughing, and I went, it's in the bottom drawer. And Boo Radley like hopped up like, hell's bells, what is going on around here? He's so hilarious. Sweet thing. PP's cough has been really bad today. It really worries me. In bed tonight, he coughed like 3 times in a row. So I need to call the vet, and she said that we could give him an extra half of a Lasix like once a day. But I also don't want to start it and then like back down from it. So I want to ask her exactly what she thinks that we should do. Like, I don't want to, like, she said we could do it and then like not do it. Well, we've done it a couple times, like when the cough was bad, but I don't want to do it, and then it becomes something that we're used to doing, and then we can't back down from that if she doesn't want to move up the medication. It's so hard because, you know, he's just such a spirited little guy, and like he walks around in the yard forever. I just let them walk around the backyard for as long as they want to, you know, and he just sniffs the air, and then he's running around in the bed, and he and Tucker are playing, and then he's, you know, fine, and then he's coughing. And you can tell it scares him because he comes up to us after he coughs. And you know, both of us are always like, it's okay, Pee-Pee, it's okay. You're okay, honey. And like as soon as it's over, he's fine. But like you can tell it scares him, and he isn't sure of what's going on afterwards. I mean, I know he's not going to live to be, you know, 19. He's just not. And I don't know. I guess I'm just not ready for... I don't know, I guess I'm just not ready for all that yet, but I also want to do exactly what our vet recommends as far as the medication, because what she's recommended so far has worked as far as the medication. I feel like we are always out of his vet medin, which is like this big brown pill. He hates taking it. I feel like we're always out of it. We now have to like pill him and put it on his like tongue and hold it back for him, and he's pretty good about it. We give him a little Parmesan treat. He gets a little Parmesan cheese afterward. Not Parmesan cheese, a little mozzarella cheese afterwards, like the shredded mozzarella cheese. He gets like a little like tablespoon of it, and he loves it. And I'd asked her, I was like, you know, is that okay? And she was like, I don't really care how you give him his medicine. I just want him to have his medicine at this point. Like, whatever he does, if you have to put it in his food, you know, I just want him, he has to have his medicine. But it's so hard, and he trusts me so much. It's cute, but it's kind of sad at the same time. Like in the morning, I'll pick him up, you know, be like, come on, Pee-Pee, we gotta have your medicine. And I go and I give him his, he just looks up at me like, okay, Dad. I can tell he doesn't like to do it, but I mean, you know, I think dogs sometimes understand more than we give them credit for. And I think he realizes that whatever we're doing is something that he has to do. Like, I think he at least, I know that sounds strange, but it's almost kind of like he knows that he has to do it. Like, we tried so many different tricks with the medicine, but now, like, this is what works best, is us just, you know, like vets do, just pilling him. And we would give it to him, like, Tanya, I think, sometimes crushes, there's like I think 2 of them you can crush up, but the other one you can't. And so she'll crush it up in his food. But, you know, we would find like half a pill like on the floor because we would put it in like a piece of cheese or something. And I just was like, he has to have his medicine. The doctor said he has to have his medicine, you know? And so we're like, okay, we're going to do this. But he's such a sweet little guy. I just don't want him to be in any pain. So we almost gave him an extra half of a Lasix tonight, but we decided to see if he can make it through the night because it seemed to like start fading away like as we got into bed. When he's like comfortable in bed, he seems to be doing okay. It's like when he first gets up there, and he seemed a little bit better by the time that I was leaving. So Alex was like, well, do you think we should give it to him? And I was like, well, let's see how he does through the night. And I said, if while I'm gone, if he wakes you up and he's coughing, I said, just give him an extra half. And he was like, okay. Today was a really good day, other than that. I just worry so much about him, you know? But I got up today, and, let's see. I got up today, and what did I do at first today? Today, Tuesday. I got up and I went and got coffee. I actually have my coffee cup over here. I'm keeping it in my car now. I like rinse it out like every 2 days. And so that I can fill it up when I go through Starbucks. And I went and did some errands, and then camera don't fall. I could feel it going back. And then I came home and kind of hung around and did some stuff, and then I filmed some videos. I actually filmed a review video of those M&Ms, but I didn't put it up. I'm going to put it up tomorrow because it wasn't completely done by the time that I left for my meeting. And then I took a shower. I did not do my hair. My hair is really long right now, so I just threw on a hat and went and picked up Tanya Jean for the meeting. We went to our meeting. We had a great meeting tonight, and talked about inventory and amends, and hung out afterwards and talked to a bunch of friends. And then I took Tanya to get a fountain pop, and I got a bottle of water, a little bottle of quart water. And then I took her home, and I talked to a sober friend of mine on the way home who had called me while I was in the meeting. Somebody that doesn't go to this meeting, and their friend had passed away, so I was talking to her about that, which was really sad. And there's just never really like anything great that you can say to somebody in that situation. And I don't think that there was anything that anybody could have said to me in that situation, you know, losing my family members that would have taken it away. And I think it's sometimes just being a lending ear and just, you know. And I even said to her, I said, like, you know, what can I do to help you right now? Like, what would make it, like, what can I do to make it better? And she's like, I just need to talk. You know, her friend passed away from cancer. And I think it's hard, you know. She's like, you know, she was surrounded by her friends and she was surrounded by family. She's like, but that doesn't make it any easier. And I said, no, it doesn't make it any easier at all. You still hurt for the person that you lost. And I said, and it literally just happened like hours ago, you know. And I think it's so hard. I think it's also harder too, unless you've lost a lot of people when you're young. Like as you get older, like your family starts passing away, contemporaries of yours start passing away, you know, people that are your age, and it just kind of seems so surreal, you know? Came home and talked to Alec. The camera fell back. Okay. Anyway, I was, so I came home after my meeting, and then I sat around and I talked to Alex for a little bit, and yeah, then he went to bed, and I came upstairs and I hung out in bed with him for a little bit. He was looking at Instagram and stuff, and then he put his phone down and he started falling asleep. And then I went and got ready and came out to vlog. And now here I am with you. With you. Hey, Jude. Dun, 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 dun. That was another name my mom wanted for me. She wanted to name me Jude. My dad said absolutely not. Noah or Peter, but my mom kind of liked Jude too because she loved the Beatles. It's funny whenever I talk about the music that my mom likes, or liked, when I talked about the music that my mom liked, I never talk about the Beatles, right? But my mom was like a huge Beatles fan. Like huge Beatles fan. Like I have all the Beatles albums that she had. And she used to have this poster. Well, it was there for a long time. I finally took it down. It was this John Lennon poster that came in, like, I think in the White Album. And it was of him at a piano. It's a really cool picture, actually. I'm sure some of you out there have seen it. But she was like a huge Beatles fan. And I always forget that. I think because I'm like, I don't dislike the Beatles, but I'm not a huge Beatles fan. Like, I wouldn't just probably put on the Beatles. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and some of my mom's favorite Beatles songs were not mine. But she would just, like, bust out, you know, singing, like, we all live in the yellow submarine, the long and winding road. And she would just do that. Like, we'd be in the kitchen and my mom would just be like, the long and winding. She'd just bust out, you know, singing. When I was a little kid, we used to do this thing in the kitchen where she would come up with a song. So, like, let's say Tomorrow from Annie, right? And then she'd say, okay, sing it like you're on Broadway. And then I'd have to, like, and this is while she was cooking. This is called Keeping an Only Child Busy, is what it's called. And so I'd have to, like, sing like Annie, like, the sun'll come out, you know, like I had to sing it like real, like, theatrical. And then she'd go, okay, country. And then I had to do it like in a country, like, you know, style or accent. And then she'd say, okay, opera. And then we would do this, like, several different songs. My mom had this book. I found it in the basement not too long ago. Well, two things that she had that I loved when I was a little kid. One was, I think it's called Mother Earth's Catalog. And it was like this thing that hippies had back in the day. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? And it has like all these recipes in there and stuff. And it's like how to make your own Play-Doh, how to do this. I mean, it's not just, I think that's what it's called. I have like one of the original ones from back in the day. I think it's like black and it's like really big and it's very cool. But it has like all these different things in there, like how to make your own soap, how to do this, how to do that, and how to tie certain knots, you know, all this kind of stuff. Mother Earth's Catalog. Does somebody know what it's called below? Maybe not catalog, Mother Earth's. Oh shoot, what's it called? The word is on the tip of my tongue. But anyway, but then she had this other book, and it was like spiral bound at the top. I don't know that it was like a legitimate book or that she bought it maybe like at a children's fair or something. But it had like all these things to do in it, like with kids when they're little. Like one of the things I loved when I was like a little kid that she used to tell me, I mean, obviously I don't remember, I would have been too little, was that she would put, you know, because you have to have like, get your kid to have like a bath. I mean, today we have all these bubble baths and all these different things that you can do and toys for the bathtub and all that kind of stuff. But back in the day, I mean, there wasn't all of that, right? So my mom would put food coloring in the bathtub. And then she would put pots and pans, like she would like pick out like 2 or 3 pots, you know, to put in the bathtub. And, you know, it would be like the spaghetti strainer and then like all this stuff. And I would just like pick up water and pour it out and pour it over my head. And she said I loved taking baths when I was a little kid. And And then she taught me like how you mix colors, like oranges, red and yellow. And like she would show me how you did it with the food coloring, or green, like green is blue and yellow, or purple is, and then we would like make bath colors that color. So, but anyway, she had this book, and like that was one of the suggestions in there, to put like food coloring in your kids' bathtub. And another one was how to like make, I think it's just like sugar, water, and like food coloring, and you paint sugar cookies. And so she would like, I can remember she would make sugar cookies, and then she would make like paint, but it would be like a watercolor set. Like she would set it like, in those little, what are they called? Like muffin tins. And then I would paint the sugar cookies different colors. I mean, they were pretty weak looking, but still, I mean, it was kind of a cool concept. And it was all this kind of stuff that we would do. Like how to make your own Play-Doh was in that one too. But there was all this different kind of stuff that we would do when I was a kid. My mom was really good with stuff like that. My sister-in-law actually reminds me a lot of my mom in that way. She's always doing crafts with the kids and different art stuff. And she also, like Liliana, is really, really good about taking the kids to like literally every free children's thing there is. And constantly like taking them to free kids stuff. Like the Children's Museum is free like every other week or something. Like Indianapolis is one of the best children's museums in the country. I don't know if you know that. Supposedly it does. But she's constantly taking them there and to other stuff for free and really cool stuff. I want to look up this Mother Earth thing and see what it's called. Mother Earth catalog? I'm gonna look that up. See if it's what it is. Oh my God, Whole Earth catalog. Here it is. This is crazy. I can't believe it. This is what it looks like. See? Isn't that hilarious? Between 1968 and 1972, that was the year I was born, Stuart Brand published the Whole Earth catalog for Kevin Kelly. The catalog was essentially a paper-based database offering thousands of hacks, tips, tools, suggestions, and possibilities for optimizing your life. For Steve Jobs, it was a Bible of his generation, a kind of Google 35 years before Google came along. On a side note, I highly recommend the commencement speech where Jobs made those comments. The very good news is that the Whole Earth catalog and some relatable publications are now available online. You can read them for free or download them for free. Start delving into things here. That's kind of cool, isn't it? I don't know what made me think about that tonight. I've kind of really, to be honest with you, this is so weird. I'm looking it up on, is this not horrible? On for sale. I'm looking it up to see how expensive it is. Oh no. Used, $3.79. Oh my God, $84 in the box. And I think I have it in the box actually downstairs. It's like this red box. $50 used. $47.50. I could sell that thing. $78.29. Oh my God. Mama, we're coming home. I'm selling some of this stuff in the basement. I didn't know that book was worth anything. Maybe collectively all of the books of my mother's that I have in the basement are what the psychic told me was worth $200,000. God, I wish. I'd start selling those books like crazy. I have kind of wondered if that's what it is, though, because my mom collected old books, like vintage books, and like this was when she was younger, because I've talked about this before, but I had a library in the house that I grew up in, and so it had bookshelves on all the walls, like every wall was bookshelves, and so she wanted to fill them with books, right? And she had a lot of books, but I mean, this was like, you know, a whole room full of floor to ceiling of bookshelves. And so she bought a lot of like, you know, rare and vintage books, but nothing that was like worth anything, you know, just that were leather bound and stuff. And I've always wondered if there's something in there that's like worth something, you know? Because I have a lot of them in the basement. Some of them are really old. My aunt gave me a vintage copy of Treasure Island, which I think I started reading like I don't know, probably when I was in junior high or something. She gave it to me like later, like when I was in high school, because she thought I liked vintage books. And it wasn't. I said finally one day, I told my mom, I said, it's not me that likes vintage books, it's you. She told my aunt that. Can you believe that? But anyway, I didn't get any more vintage books. So, but she gave me this beautiful copy of Treasure Island, and I've never read it or Swiss Family Robinson, and I've always wanted to read both of those. So maybe I'll do that this summer. It's funny that, like, when you're a kid, time goes so slow, doesn't it? It's like, it seems like a whole day just goes forever and ever and ever. I just had the weirdest taste of, like, thinking about, like, a cheese sandwich on, like, white bread with mayonnaise. Why? I don't know. Or even not with mayonnaise, just a cheese sandwich on white bread. The taste of that in the summer with a glass of lemonade and some potato chips and a pickle, God, so good. I remember, we would, well, I always played and I participated in these tennis camps, summer tennis camps, because I was very serious about tennis back in the day. But I would come home and it would be early enough still that, then I would go, like, play with my friends. And we were, like, our neighborhood was, like, full of kids. Like, we were always playing and stuff. And in the woods or in the cul-de-sacs. I lived on a cul-de-sac. So we always had, like, baseball games, kickball games, all kinds of stuff. All of us played hockey, which is so weird when I look back on that. But, we'd play all afternoon, and then we'd, like, stop and go to somebody's house for lunch. We kind of, like, rotated around. And then, we were kind of segmented by our age at groups. Like, let's say 2 or 3 years up, 2 or 3 years down. So, like, I don't know, when I was 8, my 2 best friends were probably, like, 10 and 7 or something, you know what I mean? And, but then we would come and back out and play. I think this is part of, like, sometimes why, like, watching To Kill a Mockingbird always makes me feel, like, so comforted, because it kind of reminds me of my childhood growing up. Then we would, like, go back out and play. I don't really remember what we did in the rainy days. Those were probably the days my mom took me to the library, because we used to go to the library a lot, especially, in the summer. But we would go back out and play all afternoon, and then I can remember, coming back in and eating dinner, and dinner was always early. And then my mom always seemed to have a lot of friends that would come and stay with her in the summer, like sorority sisters and their kids, or, just friends of hers and stuff like that. Her friend, Diane came to visit once from the island, and so I can just, like, I can see, like, we would be in the cul-de-sac playing, I can, like, look over and, like, it's weird, like, see my mom sitting on, like, the brick steps, and, she and her friend, like, drinking a beer and smoking a cigarette, watching all of us play, and, they're sitting out there. She put the speaker in the window sometimes and play music, and, like, all of the neighbors, like, the parents were all friends, and, like, she'd walk across the street and, have a glass of wine with, like, the neighbor woman across the street that she was real good friends with, who was the mother of, like, one of my friends, and, like, all the neighbors. It was, like, it was a nice neighborhood to grow up in, and, I remember we would, like, go inside for dinner, but then, like, dinner was early. And do you remember this, too? Like, so if my mom had, like, friends coming out, like, visiting from out of town or whatever, like, there would be kids' dinner that would be, like, at 5, and then there would be, like, and your parents are out there, like, yeah, we still do that. But there would be, like, kids' dinner at, like, 5, and then the kids would go back out and play, and then there would be, like, parents' dinner, which would be at, like, 9 or 8, you know what I mean? Like, they'd have, like, a later dinner. And then we would go in, I can remember, we'd all go in, because we would come outside after we ate dinner, and we would, like, catch lightning bugs, and, run around the neighborhood, and scare people, and do all that kind of stuff. Do you guys, oh my God. Do you remember ringing people's doorbells? We used to do that. We play hide and go seek. I remember years later. Oh shit! It's always when I turn on the street. But you wouldn't hide by yourself. You'd hide with like your friend, you know. And then like as soon as like they would come towards you, what's it called? Flashlight tag? Is that what it called? We would play, or flashlight hide and seek, and you'd have flashlights outside in the dark. Oh god, that was so much fun. But then like as soon as somebody would come near you, you'd like start screaming and running and yell. Do you guys remember that game, Ghosts in the Graveyard? And then we would do like that. What is it called? Light as a feather, stiff as a board. Is that what it's called? We would play that. But some nights we would just like, you know, lay in the grass and just like, do you remember just sitting like and laying and like pulling apart grass and just like talking, and you know what I mean? You know, I talk so much about being like the child of an alcoholic and my childhood and stuff like that, but my mom's drinking. And I do remember many moments of those nights that I would go home and, you know, then I would like take a bath and put on my pajamas and go to bed. And I always read before bed, or my mom would come in and, you know, we would listen to like an old time radio tape. We used to listen to Shadow and Fibber McGee and Molly. I was obsessed with those tapes. I used to like buy them in this online catalog. We didn't have online at that time. I used to buy them in this catalog, and I was so excited about them. And we would sit there, and, you know, in the dark, and my mom would lay on the floor like next to my bed until I fell asleep, or till she thought I was asleep, and it'd be like, only the shadow knows. And then, you know, she would go into her bedroom, and like I think that's when she started drinking a lot. It's weird to me too, looking back, like how much my mom smoked in the house, like, and she was never like, my mom was never, unless she was around other people, like a huge smoker, but I definitely can remember the smell of cigarette smoke in her house. Like, not so much just like wafting everywhere, but like at night she would sit in her bedroom and she would like have a couple cigarettes and, you know, have a couple drinks or more. But I guess when I was real young, my mom told me later that the drinking was always really bad, like when I was gone, because she was lonely. And she also knew that, you know, it wasn't like a night that she had to like put me to sleep or anything, and so she could drink earlier. So I think to some degree, like, being a parent made my mom's drinking not escalate as fast as maybe it would have, I think, otherwise. I don't know. I mean, I'm just kind of speculating about that. I mean, we did talk about that stuff, but I really had some good times as a kid growing up. You know, it was fun. Summer seemed so long. Do you guys remember how long summer seemed? I feel like now summers just feel like they go by like that, you know, but like back then, summers just seemed so long. And, you know, I was thinking about this tonight, like getting ready to go on this trip, and I'm like, I hate that I think this way as an adult, but like before I leave, I already think about like having to come back and like what I'm gonna have to do when I get back and make sure that this stuff's done, so I don't, you know what I mean? Like, and I just don't want to think about it that way. I will say though, like I was talking about the other night, that time doesn't seem as fast to me now as it does. Like, it's slowed down a lot for me since I've started prioritizing the things that are important to me, and since I have started, you know, really taking care of my peace of mind and my serenity and focusing on my husband and my dogs and my friends and my family and the things that I think are really important in life, the moments that are really important, you know? It's like time has seemed to really slow down. I think it's practicing mindfulness and being present in the moment. A friend of mine said something tonight in the meeting that I really, really liked. We were talking a lot about like inventory and staying focused in today and not jumping forward in fear. Like, well, in 3 months this, or in 6 months this, right? Because I think a lot of us borrow trouble. Like I do, definitely. and think like, oh, well, what if about this, or what if about that, or, you know, I think many of us probably do that. Some of you, I'm sure, out there, you know, think to yourself, well, what if I, you know, lose my job and I can't pay my bills in 6 months? Or, you know, what if this relationship doesn't work, and blah, 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 blah. Or, you know, what if my kids don't get into this school, or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, I think we worry out of fear. And, you know, one of my sponsors used to say to me that like 90% of the things that I worry about never even happen, you know? And so my friend tonight, like when we were sharing, and I talked to her a long time about it after the meeting, she said that her sponsor always says to her, where are your feet? And it hit me like a brick wall. You know, she's like, anytime that I'm like in my head and I'm thinking 4 months down the road, or 2 months down the road, or a year down the road, right? She's like, I always think to myself, she says, like, I always think to myself what my sponsor says, which is, where are your feet? Your feet are planted right below you. They're right there in the ground. You're not going anywhere. You're in today. You're in this moment. You're in this time. Stay present. Stay in the moment. Stay where your feet are. And I thought about that. Like, it really hit me hard, you know? I was like, damn, like, that's so true. And I think, like, I have to practice that more. Like, where am I? Where are my feet, you know? I also think that the things that I thought were important have changed. I don't want it to fall again. You know, like, and I think that fluctuates in time. You know, when I was in my early 30s, I thought you had to have this, you had to be that, you had to live in the right house. Yeah, I mean, I didn't have any of those things, which I always compared myself to why I had less than, that I wasn't measuring up to my friends around me, you know? What I realized along the way was that my journey is different. My journey is so completely different than everybody's around me. There is no comparison. Like, you know, like I said, Peter's was we lose by comparison. My friend said that to me. And, but we're really cheating ourselves out of the journey when we try to compare ourselves to people, you know? I feel like in the last 10 years too, like, I've heard about so many people that you know, you find out one day that they're filing bankruptcy, or, you know, I've known a few people that have, like, not closely, but have, like, taken their lives, and you find out after, you know, that this life of all these travels and these expensive cars and all this stuff was really just this facade, right? Like, they never really had that. It stopped. And then they're completely overwhelmed, apparently, you know, by this need to keep this up. And I mean, it's kind of like the whole idea behind the movie Fargo, you know, when that guy, like, murders his wife just so that, I don't know. And then, like, at the end of it, Frances McDormand's, like, you know, in that police car, and she's, like, saying to the guy, she's like, all of this for money, you know? It's like, I think in life, I want more moments. I want more experiences. I don't care about the stuff. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love stuff. I love stuff. I shop. But I don't care about, like, not in the way that I did, like, 10 years ago, where I thought, you know, I don't know. I don't measure up if, you know, I have a friend of mine, and he, to some degree, would fit that story, I think, of, you know, putting on airs and living a certain way and whatever, and lived in the house, and traveled all the time, stayed in the hotels, had the cars, you know, the $20,000 watches and whatever. And I hadn't seen him in a long time. And this was like last summer when I saw him. And this is so funny because this is almost like, as I'm telling the story, I'm like, this is almost kind of like the book that I read that a friend of mine recommended me called The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari. If you guys haven't ever read that book, it's a fantastic book. It's called The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari. But anyway, I saw this friend of mine. We just happened to be like eating at the same place, and he had on like khaki like linen shorts and like a white t-shirt and flip-flops, no watch, nothing, right? And I was like, hey, how are you doing? And we were like talking, Alex and I were talking to him and stuff, and he was like, I'm good, blah, 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 whatever. And he had like this total like change of perspective in his life, right? Like sold the house, sold the cars, did everything. And he's like, yeah, he's like, I got rid of all that stuff. And I was like, okay, why? And he was like, I just want to travel. He was like, I've been traveling. And so we were like, he was like in sales and stuff before. And so we're like, well, what are you doing back here now? He's like, well, I'm back here now for a while. I'm going to save some money, and then I'm going to go back and, you know, travel some more and whatever. And I had known another person that had done this too, like back in the day. And I was like, I get it, you know? And he was like, you know, he was like, I realized one day that I just didn't need that stuff. Like, you know, and it was too much to keep up with it. And, I mean, Alex and I had a long talk about that, you know, on the way home. I mean, because Alex and I, we like things, you know, we do. Like, I'm not going to say I don't think there's anything wrong with liking things. I think there's something wrong for me. I can't judge anybody else's life. I think there's something, and I don't, you know. I mean, I have a lot of friends of mine that have very nice things and like very nice things. And I think it's cool, you know, like, my friend Melissa, like, was dying to find this, like, vintage Gucci fanny pack thing, right? And she found it, and it is very cool. But, like, that's not who Melissa is. I mean, Melissa is about, at her core, you know, you go over there and she makes you a sandwich, and, you know, she's got 10,000 pairs of socks that people have donated because she's taking them to the homeless shelter, or, you know, helping out with her dog rescue and things like that, you know? Not that she has to have all of that to have the Gucci fanny pack, she doesn't. But what I'm saying is she's not defined by that. I don't want to be defined by the things I have to have, like, or the things I want to have, you know? Like, it's okay to have those things. I mean, if somebody gifted me a Porsche tomorrow, I'm not going to turn down a Porsche, okay? I'm just not. Like, I would love to drive a Porsche, the Carrera sports car, you know? But I'm not going to turn it down, and nobody's going to gift it to me, so I can say that easily, right? But, like, at the same time, it's like, I don't want to be, like, I have to have this. Like, I have to work this hard to have this amount of money to have this, this, and this, and this. Because then it's like the struggle just to keep up with it. I don't really care that much. I just really honestly don't, you know? But that's something that's changed to me over time, too. Like, it's interesting because, like, every once in a while, like, I'll get a comment on my vlog and somebody will say something about, like, you know, like, Peter's trust fund from his mom or dad. Okay, there is no trust fund. There just isn't any trust fund. And, you know, honestly, and I've talked enough about it on here, like, you know, the thing that saved my dad and I's relationship was that my dad doesn't give me any money, and it was a decision that we made together pretty early in my sobriety. I've told the story before, because to some degree my dad and I's relationship was bound by money, and if I was going to have a relationship with my dad, it couldn't be based on money, you know? It had to be based on us building a relationship where money was no factor. And, you know, my dad's helped me out from time to time, but I'm not, like, there's no trust fund. There's no, like, he doesn't give me money like that. My dad, you know, has been very generous in paying for my treatments and, you know, paying for my education. And I was thinking a lot about that today because I did the video on Olivia Jade and that Lori Loughlin. And I was thinking to myself, like, I almost called my dad to ask him what he thought about it because I just knew what he would say. He'd be like, just, you know, stupidity or whatever. But, You know, my dad was a huge enabler for me for a very, very long time. And not really so much financially as, you know, otherwise. Like, I mean, he did get me an attorney, you know, for some of my serious legal issues. And if he was sitting here right now, he'd say, yeah, and that was the worst attorney I could have ever hired, who didn't even show up to court. And I haven't told that story on here in a long time. So, the last time that I got arrested for driving while intoxicated, I don't even know how old I was, but it was before I was 21, which is just really kind of a sick statement anyway. But my dad had hired an attorney. Basically, I was told with previous like stuff that had happened that I probably shouldn't show up to court without an attorney. Well, the attorney didn't show up for court. My dad was pissed. And so we're sitting there, and the judge like calls our case, and so he's like, is your attorney not here? And I was like, no, he's not here yet. And he's like, do you know where he's at? I was like, no, I don't know. And he's like, do you have anybody with you? And my dad stood up and was like, I'm here with my son. And so I had, like, when I got arrested, the police officers had asked me if I could, like, walk the sobriety line, and I said, walk it, I can vogue it. So, yeah, not my finest line, right? So, we're in court, and the judge is like, you know, calling me Mr. Monn. He's like, so Mr. Monn, like, I understand the police report. He's like, all this kind of stuff. And so he's reading through and my dad's standing next to me, and you would have to understand my dad, but my dad is very much like, yes sir, no sir. He's very polite. He knows his place. You know, he always has. He's very respectful. My dad he demands respect, and he gives respect. And that is how he believes the world works. That if you want respect from somebody, you give respect. My dad believes that. And so we're standing there, you know, my dad's in like a suit and tie, I'm in a suit and tie, and we're standing there, and it's a court full of people, okay? It's not like a criminal trial, it's a DUI. I mean, it's like a, you know, and so we're sitting there, and the judge is like reading the police report, and he's like, oh, so you're, you know, and he's being kind of sarcastic, and he's like, so your attorney decided not to show up today, and I'm not saying anything. And so he reads through the report, and he gets to the part where he's like, the police officer reported that when asked if Mr. Monn would like to walk the sobriety line, or could walk the sobriety line, Mr. Monn responded by saying, walk it, I can vogue it. And my dad goes, oh Jesus. He still thinks this is hilarious to this day. I don't. But I mean, it is kind of funny in retrospect, but sad, really, you know? So sad. He asked me if I wanted to demonstrate. I said, no, thank you, sir. No, sir, I think I said. But yeah, like, my dad enabled me a lot until the last time that I went to treatment. He said, no more, I'm done. I'm not enabling you anymore. I'm done. And like I said the other night, like, he's really educated on, you know, addiction and enabling behaviors. That's why, like, when we talked about the story Beautiful Boy is really about his dad being like the chief enabler. You know, we know that most families there's always a chief enabler. My dad was mine. He knows that. He owns it. And only did things start getting different for us when my dad stopped, and he knew that. And but that was so hard for my dad, I think, you know, because my dad was like, he always wanted to give me the life that he never had growing up, you know, and he, you know, wanted to protect me from things, but my dad realized I had to suffer my own consequences, you know, and he didn't stand in the way of that, like, none of it. I remember one time calling my dad from jail. Oh, I was so pissed. Well, when I called him from treatment, too, and he wouldn't come and get me, and he said he had told all my friends and everybody that not to take my calls because I would, you know, just try to get them to come and get me. I was so mad I hung up on him. And, but when I was in jail this one time, I called my dad and I said, come and get me. And he said, I'm not coming to get you. And he said, you don't realize that your stepmother and I stay up late and we worry about you because we don't know where you're at or if we're going to get a call that you're dead. We have no idea where you're at, but tonight I know that you're safe. Tonight I know that you're safe. My dad has been fantastic in my entire life, but definitely in my 24 years of sobriety. So when I get the comment that people think I have this huge trust fund for my dad, I think it is so hilarious because honestly, there's nothing further from the truth. My dad would, I mean, like Christmas presents, Alex, my dad would never give me cash, period, to this day, for a Christmas present or anything else. Like, he just wouldn't, you know? Like, if I needed help with something, my dad would maybe help me with something, but there would have to be a damn good reason, and we'd have to sit down, and, like, if it was, like, let's say, I don't know, some outrageous bill or something, like, he would work with me on trying. I've talked about this with my dad before, too, that my dad was like, I'm not gonna help you with this, you know? So it's always funny to me when I get that comment, because, like, my dad is not the person that, well, first of all, I think if he was sitting here, he'd say, I've done well in my life. I haven't done that well to set up some huge trust fund for you. You know, he would think that was kind of funny, I think. But my dad's not the type of person that would believe in that. Like, he's just not, you know, like he doesn't think very highly of that stuff today, you know? And he realizes in retrospect the people that, like, he was one of those people that was really helping me hurt myself because he wouldn't set boundaries and limits. And I'm thankful for that today, you know? I'm thankful that I had to do stuff on my own 2 feet. Yeah, and I will say, like, you know, I didn't pay for my education. I'm extremely thankful for it. I'm extremely thankful. I do not believe that I would have gotten my education if it was for my dad. And not because, I just don't think, like, well, maybe my master's degree after I got sober, I think I might have. Because by then, I mean, you know, I was like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And I was very empowered, and I just knew what I wanted to do. So I think I probably would have, but undergraduate, I don't know. Like, I don't even know that I would have gone to college, honestly. I think the other thing is too, you know, like, the majority of my friends, all with the exception of one, who she worked at Burger King the entire time that I was in high school. Like, she was a year ahead of me. She was like one of my dearest friends. She worked at Burger King the whole time that we were in high school. Me and my other friends, we did not work. And we'd always be like trying to get her to call in sick. And she was like manager of Burger King, like helping her mom pay her bills in high school. Bought her own car, bought her own boat, paid her own way through college. Let me just tell you, okay? She is by far the wealthiest of all of my friends right now. She does very well financially, right? The rest of us, we're paying our bills. But she does extremely well, right? Like, I think that says a lot about working from an early age and all that kind of stuff, you know? So I probably should have. I think my life would be a lot different. And maybe if I was working, I wouldn't have gotten into so much damn trouble, you know? My nose is driving me nuts again. Stupid beard. Oh, but what I was going to say was, like, you know, none of my friends in high school, none of us had jobs. And all of our parents, except for one, paid for our education. And I think we all took it for granted back then. You know, I think we thought, that was the majority of the people that I went to high school with, you know, that was just kind of our life. And now I look back on that after I've, you know, in the last, you know, I mean, really, since I've gotten sober, all of the people that I've met who are like, my parents were not paying for my college, you know, now I, you know, like, the last 20 years I've really realized what a gift that was. True gift, you know, and my dad paying for my treatment. I mean, one of the reasons why people are dying today is because people can't afford treatment programs because they're so expensive. And one of the things my dad has worked on in his life is changing hospital policies to so that they understand the cost effectiveness of treatment. That if you pay for a longer treatment for somebody, this is something my dad has taken on his own in his career. That my dad really believes in a 30-plus day treatment program, because if insurance companies or if hospitals were willing to offer longer stays for lower amounts of money, the higher rates of success for a 30-day, because he really believes in it, from what he's seen with me and other people that he's known, that 30-day treatment programs are longer, you have a better success rate of staying clean and sober. So what we're doing is we're charging people for 2 and 3 day detoxes 2 to 3 times a year, which are more expensive than a day of like residential or rehab in a treatment facility, when really you could be saving money more if you're giving somebody a 30-day treatment program. Not to say 30-day treatment programs save people, because they don't. There's a lot of people that go to them that go back out and use, but they have a better success rate. And I don't know, I always call my dad on my sobriety birthday every year, and I always thank him for my education, and I thank him for my treatments, especially my last one, because they were the 2 greatest gifts he ever gave me in my life, besides my life, It's funny too, like the last couple years, my dad has always texted me that morning too, like, so proud of you, kid, or so proud of you, Pete, and it's a long way from coming to maybe you shouldn't come to Thanksgiving this year to so proud of you, kid, talking to a friend of mine on the phone the other day. I don't know why that got me like real teary-eyed. I mean, obviously because I love my dad and stuff, but my friend whose dad passed away not too long ago, like, she was definitely kind of like a daddy's girl, and I've always leaned to my dad, and whenever I have a question about anything in the world, like how to do this or how to do that or how to do this, like, I would call him up and I'd say, well, Dad, I don't know how to do this, or Dad, I don't know how to, like, how do I do this? And, he'd like point me in the right direction, And the last couple of years, I've really tried to, like the last 5-6 years, consciously not ask him. And there was a while where I would always ask, like, Tanya's husband, because he's like very much like a father figure to me. And Eric knows a lot of like mechanical things. So, but I would reach out to them, and then there was like a day that I was just like, I need to start figuring these things out on my own, or figuring out who to call on my own, because A, I can do that and I'll feel better about it, and B, because there's gonna come a day when my dad's not around for me to call and ask. I'm really, really happy I had the privilege in my life to fix my relationship with my dad, and to fix my relationship with my mom and my, other relatives before they were gone. I have so many friends of mine who, like whenever, especially if I share the story about my mom and I being sober together, they'll say, I wish that was my story, like my dad never saw me sober, or my dad never saw me, or my mom never saw me sober. They'll tell me these stories, and they're like, that's all they would have wanted, was to see that from me, and like, I wish I had given them that, where they could have seen that. And I think it's so hard. It's like, I can't even imagine. It's so weird how I never know what I'm going to talk about in my vlog when I start, and then my vlog always goes in some like real deep direction. You guys, what you do to me. guys ever see the Roseanne episode where they have the barbecue in the backyard and that Bonnie, whatever her name is, she sings that song, "You Really Got a Hold on Me"? You know that song? Okay. Do you guys, it's on iTunes, you can buy it. I went and I found it, whatever her name is, Bonnie Bartlett, I think is her name, and I like downloaded it. I've been listening to it like crazy. I love her. That woman can sing. She can sing her pants off. Is she still around? That sounded so corny, didn't it? Is she around? She's still around. Did you guys ever see that movie U-Turn back in the day? And it had Claire Danes in it. She was like a waitress, and Jennifer Lopez, and then it also had Joaquin Phoenix. And what do y'all think of Joaquin Phoenix? And she was like, she says to Joaquin Phoenix in the restaurant, she's like, there's like a Patsy Cline song on the radio, and she's like, why do you think Patsy Cline don't make no more records? And he goes, because she's dead. And he goes, and she's like, oh. It's like, I love little just like lines. Oh my God, I saw this bumper sticker. Was I vlogging when I saw this bumper sticker and it said, somebody had this bumper sticker and said, I speak in movie quotes. Oh my God, I love that so much because I feel like my head is just filled with movie quotes and half of them are wrong. Did you ever see that? I mean, half of them are like so wrong. They're not even an exact movie quote. Did you ever see Amy Adams? I think it might have been one of her very first movies. And she was in that movie Junebug, which was with the guy that was in the movie, the TV show The OC back in the day. Okay, this movie is fantastic, first of all. It's way out there, but it's fantastic. But Amy Adams plays his, like, I think wife or girlfriend, and she's like real pregnant in the movie, like about to have her baby. She may have her baby in the movie, I think. But his brother comes to visit, and with his girlfriend or wife or something, and so Amy Adams becomes like obsessed with her. She like just thinks she's like the coolest thing in the entire world, and so she's like following her around when she first gets there, and she's like showing her the room that she's gonna stay in. She's like, now this is gonna be your room. She's like a southern accent. She's like, now this is gonna be your room, and she's like, now I'm on, hold on, it's gonna stop, hold on. And she's like, now I'm on the other side, so if you want to talk, just knock on the wall and I'll come on over and we can talk, okay? And then she's like, she says to her, she goes, did you really live in Japan? And she's like, yeah. And she goes, oh my God, I always wanted to live in Japan. She goes, I bet you were popular in high school, weren't you? And the woman just looks at her and she goes, I bet you were a cheerleader. And she goes, I was a cheerleader. She goes, oh my God, you were not, or something like that. It is so funny, you guys. Oh, you have to see that movie. I haven't seen that movie in so long. My friends and I used to love that. Oh, we loved that movie Tumbleweed back in the day, too. Have you seen Tumbleweed? It is such a fantastic movie. This mother and her daughter, and they move, like, cross-country, like, from Texas to, like, California, I think, or something. But there's this scene when this guy, like, her boss tells her to file these papers, and she goes, oh, file the paper. You want me to file these papers for you? She was, like, nominated for an Academy Award. She's like, you want me to file these papers for you? I'll file these papers for you. She takes all these papers. She's like, these papers right here. She's, like, throwing them on the ground and picking up papers. It's like everybody's scene they would want to have if they quit a job, you know? We used to talk about that back in the day. We'd say, like, would you ever just, like, walk out in the middle of a shift? And we're like, no. Every single one of us resigned and, like, you know, sent flowers and gave, like, a certain amount of time before we left. And, you know, like, it just, we did it the way you're supposed to do it. And it wasn't just 2 weeks either. It was a lot longer than that. And we all, like, you know, I was like trying to think about how long I was there. I put my resignation in the day that I left for Christmas break, and then I left the last week of January. So I was like there a month before I left. I'll never forget sitting in my supervisor's office that day. 13 years. I thought I'd be there for the rest of my life, you know? I, like, had called her on her phone that morning, and I said, hey, when you get a chance, can I talk to you today? And she was like, yep. She's like, hey, why don't you come in, like, right before I head out for the day? And I was like, okay, because she always left, like, an hour before we did. And I remember I went and I sat down in her office, and I just sat down. And then I looked at her, and I started crying. And she said, you're going to resign, aren't you? And I said, yeah. She said, I knew you were going to do this. And I said, I just think it's time, you know? It's so weird to me because nobody that I even, like, all of my friends that I had there, they don't even work there anymore, you know? Like, they've all gone on and done other things. Half of us aren't even in the field anymore. Like, most of us aren't even in the field anymore. But that was, like, such a time of my life, you know? It was one of the best times of my life. She's not even there in the same capacity that she was there before. She's in a completely different capacity now. But I mean, it has been 11 years since over 11 years since I've left. God, it's crazy to think that I have almost been gone as many years as I worked there. That is crazy to me. I didn't even, like, I never think about it in terms of that. It's like with my mom being gone, like, it really does feel like my mom has been, like, I would say just in the last year, maybe it's because since my aunt and uncle have been gone, but, like, it really does feel like I've been gone, or that my mom's been gone 11 years. Like, it really does. It feels like it's been a long time. There are days that I have where it feels like it was just yesterday. You know, like a song will come on the radio, or like I'll get a smell in the house or something like that. There's days that it feels like it was just yesterday. But honestly, like, I would say the majority of the time, it feels like it's been 11 years. It feels like it's been a long time. And it has been 11 years is a long time, you know? I was thinking about that with my cousin's son, you know? He just turned 18, and he would have been 7 when my mom passed away. He and she were such good, they were such great friends. And, my mom used to wear this glitter nail polish, and she'd say, I wear it because he loves it so much. And but, you know, I was thinking about him the other day. I was like, he's lost my mom, who was like his companion. Like, she really helped take care of him a lot when he was young. And he's lost his, you know, grandma, and then his poppy, well, my uncle, who we called Poppy. And I mean, he, like, his entire life growing up until he was like 13, spent like every other weekend at my aunt and uncle's. Maybe more than that sometimes. And he and my uncle were best friends. Like, absolutely just best friends. Best friends. And we go to the movies constantly, and all, you know, just always. I mean, he was over there and took him to his doctor's appointments and all kinds of stuff, you know. And what a resilient kid to lose all of that, you know. And he's such a neat kid. It's funny because, like, he used to be kind of sassy when he was younger. Like, you know, like, you'd say something and he kind of like smart talk you back a little bit, because he's like, my uncle has like a very my uncle had, I don't know why I'm talking about people in present tense tonight, like they're still alive, but my uncle had a very sarcastic like attitude about him. Like, his jokes were all very sarcastic. And so Caroline's son kind of picked up on that, and that's kind of, he talked that way when he was younger, but like, he's gotten out of that. Like, he's just really a kind kid. And now, he helps out so much with Caroline's mother-in-law, her husband's mom, picking her up, taking her to things, going over there to check on her. I mean, he's just that kid, you know? Which I guess is weird, because, like, Caroline was kind of like that with my grandma when I was, you know, when she was in high school. Talk about a worker. My cousin has worked since she was like 15 years old. She wanted to work. She always worked. She always had jobs in high school, college, everything. She's been such a hard worker. And now he works. Her son works. His dad's a worker too. Like, all of them are workers. Caroline loved working in high school. She used to work at this store in the mall called the athletic department. And my grandma had worked there for a while too, I think, doing like, I don't know, something with them. But anyway, I don't know if that's where my grandma worked for like the last part of her life. She worked there for a long time. I have to ask Caroline that. Because Caroline worked there, and I think my grandma had something to do with her getting the job there. But, so the athletic department used to be like, we don't really have stores like that anymore. Well, I guess we do, like Foot Locker and stuff like that. It's like Foot Locker, things like that. And like, you know, those little stores in the mall. Caroline worked in there. And I remember she'd wear, like, I'd go in there and visit her, and she'd have on like the athletic department polo shirt on, and then she'd have on like jeans, and then she would have like those Reeboks that had the Velcro strap around the ankle. Do you guys remember those? She always wore those with like the socks that bunched up. And my mom and I would go in there and visit her and stuff. And then she worked in restaurants, like when she was old enough to be like bartending and stuff like that. Caroline did. I wonder why that pancake place is not open now tonight. Is it only open certain? Oh, maybe it was. It fell again. Anyway. Yeah, well, I'm past the pancake place now, but that's when it fell. And then I was turning, so. Anyway, I don't know why the pancake place is only open on certain nights, but pancakes do kind of sound good right now. Do you guys remember Shoney's Breakfast Bar back in the day? Oh my God, I loved Shoney's Breakfast Bar. My friends and I would go there when I was in high school. We used to eat at some weird places. We used to eat at Racks a lot in high school, too. I feel like there was something in the salad bar that we really liked. They have like good bread or something there. I don't even remember what kind of food Racks was. Like, that's so weird. But I remember we used to go there. We used to go to Long John Silver's a lot too. There used to be this place, so I grew up in Carmel, Indiana. There used to be this place there called Country Kitchen. Oh my God. That place on a Saturday night was like filled with high schoolers. It was literally like, I don't know if Country Kitchen is a chain. Is it? Do they still exist? Their colors were literally like brown and yellow. And if you've ever gone to a Country Kitchen, you know what I'm talking about. And their like waitresses would wear these like frilly like shirts that were like brown and like had like frills on them. They were so ugly. And we would sit there and just smoke cigarettes for hours and like order nothing, like just Cokes, and then we'd get up, you know. High school's so different now than it was back then. I mean, like, that's what we did on a Friday night. We would cruise a lot around town too and just like drive and stuff. Well, kids don't smoke cigarettes today either. Like, that's the other thing, you know? I mean, I know that a lot of kids vape, but I feel like to some degree it's kind of different. Like, I remember in high school, like, you could be out, you'd be like, you know, you go to Country Kitchen, then you go to here, or you'd stop by a party, or you do this, right? And I can remember, like, everybody smoked. Do you remember that? Like, maybe they were, like, a straight-A student during the week, and do you guys remember that movie, Angel? Angel, student by day, prostitute by night. Do you guys remember that movie back in the day? Oh, my God. Okay, there were, like, 4 of them. Angel 1, Angel 2, Angel 3, and Angel 4. They always had, like, all those B-list actors from Hollywood in them. But anyway, they'd be on late at night on Cinemax. They were actually really kind of good, though. And then she was like, she had a vendetta, and she'd always like want to kill somebody. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? Oh my God, now I want to see one of those angel movies. I have forgotten all about those. Okay, but you know, you would like go to a party and then there'd be this girl that like straight A's, right? She was like so like prissy and fine, and she'd be like holding a beer, drinking a cigarette, you know? Like that was so like the late 80s in high school. I don't know, maybe it was different times too, not just the late 80s, but I feel like that's kind of like part of what it was, right? That it was like everybody kind of like did that stuff, you know? Now for me, it just didn't work and it got out of control, but there were a lot of people that like did fine in high school, and I had a lot of friends of mine that partied really, really hard and did great, you know? That just wasn't my story. Oh well. This is where I'm at today. My journey's different. I do wonder though, like what would have happened if like I had gotten like, let's say a 3.5 in high school and then gone to like some college. I sometimes wonder, like, you know, I don't wonder too much about it. Tanya and I were talking about that on the way home tonight, like just what amazing lives we have, like how blessed we are, you know? And that it's not even taking it for granted sometimes, but it's acknowledging, you know, how blessed we have it. Well, all right, you guys, listen, I'm going to get off here now because I have a feeling I've been vlogging for over an hour. It seems crazy to me now when I look back and I think that I started my vlogs with like 10 to 30 minutes. So if you made it this far, would you please give me a big thumbs up on this video? I'd really appreciate it. And yeah, I'm gonna get off here now. So I hope you're having an amazing day, unless you have other plans. And I love you, in case you haven't heard that from anybody else today. And go pass that on to somebody else. What is today? Wednesday while you're watching this. So yeah, Wednesday, happy hump day. I hope you guys are having a great day, and I love you, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.